Everyone, this is a video that I'm doing for the creator missions. I've been procrastinating this because I really didn't want to do it, but here we are because the deadline is in like 2 or 3 days and I have to get it out. Today we'll be going over a Nagi gameplay guide. Being forced to make a gameplay guide for possibly the simplest character in the game is surely a slap in the face by Netmarble. Alright, let us begin. So what does Nagi do? In the Grand Courses scheme, she is at A0F1. She is a decent main DPS, does pretty good main DPS damage that is comparable to like mid dupe, as in like A4 4 stars. Casual players will find her a lot easier to play than A0F1 Esther, and because of the ease of rotation, they might find greater success in just holding down the basic attack with Nagi than doing the complexities of Esther's dash canceling and ambush and all of that fun shenanigans. So casual players might find her better than Esther, even though Esther is objectively stronger at A0F1. That said, she does do very similar damage to Max Bonnie, especially if you're playing Nare, which would buff Bonnie's special skill by a lot. So if you have a really high duped Bonnie and you don't mind playing her, Bonnie would straight up probably like just do more damage. And finally at A0F1, her breaking power is actually kind of bad. It's obviously better than A0F1 Esther, but compared to characters like Cloud or Mina or Ellie or Reina, like A0F1 Nagi does not do that much. At A2, she gains decent supporting ability, which we will go over a little further into the video. Experimentally, this lets A2 Nagi match Bonnie as a support for Esther, which really goes to show how weak the character is at A0F1 as a supporter. It is literally not worth pulling her to support Esther if you have Bonnie. At A4, that is a very good breakpoint for main DPS Nagi, but at that point, like A4 Nagi is just greatly outclassed by A4 Esther. Esther's dupes scale Esther a lot harder than Nagi's dupe scales hers, especially since she basically has a useless dupe at A2 if you're playing her as a main DPS. And finally, at A6, she becomes a pretty good supporter for Wind, and performs similarly to Max Nare as a support for Esther. So let's go over her signature before going over her dupes. The signature is overall a pretty low impact sig. Obviously, you want to get F1 because every character's sig is good, but getting more dupes of Nagi sig is not that great. It does not provide any support, only damage bonuses. So if you're playing main DPS Nagi, you can argue that you should dupe this. It gives you more basic attack damage sometimes, and gives you more wind damage. So yeah, if you want to dupe it, go right on ahead. But if you're playing support, you can leave this thing at like A0, A1. I mean F1. If you're trying to pull Nagi as a wind support for whatever reason, just go for dupes. Don't go for dupes of this signature. It is truly one of the sigs of all time. Alright, character dupes. A1 is a small boost to damage and neutralization of only the Beyblade. What it does is it buffs the Beguiling Scale buff, which at A0 is 15% attack, 5% neutralization, and one-time damage and immunity. And what that means, and what that translates to, would be 15 to 50, so 35% attack, 25% neutralization, for the Beyblade only, because the Beguiling Scale buff only applies during the Beyblade. It does not include her ultimate or her skill, which makes this dupe kind of mid, because her ult and her skill, if you've played her, is a pretty big part of what she does. It is like over half of the neutralization that she does, and is a very large chunk of her damage as well. And Beguiling Scale only affecting the Beyblade means that these buffs are just diminished in effectiveness. This A1 dupe is pretty weak overall. When I playtested it on stream, I didn't really find a notable increase in damage performance or anything really. So this is kind of like a dupe. It's not necessary for either support or main DPS, though it does benefit main DPS a little bit. Let's move on to A2. A2 is worded really funny, but the effect is kind of simple. So whenever Nagi is physically on the field and you are not controlling her, the character that you are controlling will gain the Imperial Grace buff. This is a buff that causes you to deal 30% of the damage of a wind hit as an additional hit. It is basically just saying you get a flat 1.3x multiplier to your damage. And the rough translation of this effect is, upon switching out, increase the next on-field character's wind damage by 30% for 9 seconds. So, very simple effect. Adds kind of like a Francis tag out kind of deal to her. This A2 makes her buff the main DPS about as much as A2 F5 Bonnie. Having this A2 would just make her a viable substitute for Bonnie, which really goes to show how weak Nagi's base kit is. You have to have A2 to be able to play her as a support. Wonderful. Let's move on to A4. A4 is a pretty good main DPS buff. The first part's wording, where it says like Heavenly Orbit's first hit strike count increases by 3, is kind of vague. We don't really know what a Heavenly Orbit's first hit is. I believe that when you Beyblade, you do multiple instances of Heavenly Orbit first strike. So I don't know where the 3 extra hits actually get added in, and if the total damage increase of 80% is actually accurate. But I'm just going to assume that it is, because on stream I remember when I went to A4, I did see a significant damage boost, so it's probably accurate. The little Orbeez that blow up when you cast a skill will go from 1 to 3. That is this 43.8% multiplier thing right here. So this effectively translates to like a 18 or 17% damage boost or something for your skill. When you cast your ult, the ult will also release Orbeez that deals the damage written down here. For the ultimate, again, this translates to like something around 20% damage buff, a little bit more than 20% for your ult. The Orbeez, they're kind of just there. The buff to the EBA makes it a pretty strong dupe. Everything put together does make this dupe the biggest increase to her personal damage. These increase to the multipliers, adding these extra hits with extra multipliers does increase her neutralization quite a bit. So overall, A4 is a pretty good dupe for support and a very good dupe for main DPS. And finally, we have A6. This is just a boring increase to numbers. Her self buff from her fan icon down and below goes from 30% to 130%, and the team buff from A2 goes from 30% to 50%. A6 makes Nagi a really good supporter. She does really strong neutralization damage because of A3, A4, and A5, and her team buff is good. All this put together means that she becomes on par with Nare as a supporter for supporting wind, even outperforming Nare if you play kind of good, and if you're playing Esther as the main DPS. Her main DPS potential increases a lot, like going from 30% to 130% is insane, like doubling your damage kind of deal, but A6 Nagi is still weaker by very big margins compared to A6 Esther. So if you're planning to pull her for A6, for main DPS purposes, I honestly would just recommend waiting for Esther and wailing on her instead. Or whatever next main DPS for wind that they come up with. Whatever. For gear, it's obvious. Duh, just use Abyss set. I hate it when people, like, ask me what gear set to use when there's only like one gear set for every character. Like, just read the set effect. It's obvious. The gear is yellow, and this is the one that says wind on it. So just put on the wind yellow gear. If you have other sets with good crit stats and you don't have a wind set gear piece with really good crit stats, just use the other set. These set effects are not that strong. Wind has probably the strongest set effects, and even then, like, do you really need the 10% wind damage if you're not going to have, like, 20% crit damage? That kind of deal. For monsterlings, check the spreadsheet. I will link it in the description below, but generally, if you are playing Nagi main DPS, your team would look something like this, where she uses the standard main DPS loadout of Ice Fist Dude and Scar, and for Link, you can use Nokjung or Plains Minotaur. You can also just put Amon here. Like, these monsterlings are kind of dog shit, and the second they come out with a really strong wind monsterling, it's gonna be replaced. So if you really don't want to make these guys, just put them on here. 5% element weak bonus is not that much worse than 10% wind shred. These monsterlings are for the support, and that I pretty much built wind for you here. For substats, just use the standard main DPS substats. If you're playing wind, but like using Nagi as a supporter, remember Nagi has to be A2 plus to support very well. Just give her the standard support stuff. She can proc Golgak and Amon because she Beyblades off field. There has been instances of overseas players using high dupe G1, where she stays around and does some basic attacks, where they put Golgak and Amon on G1 and then put main DPS stuff on Nagi as well. I've tried this, kind of, and it didn't seem that great. I think just you doing this is probably better. So yeah, just go with this, because more likely than not, you, the viewer, probably don't have A2G1, so this is probably irrelevant to you anyways. Now, rotations. As a main DPS, you just switch in, you click your ult if you have it, and then you press the special button, and then you hold down the basic attack and just let her spin. And then you let her spin some more, and then you press skills to activate your buff, and then you spin some more until you want to switch out. It is a very simple rotation of just spinning. You can use a tip that allows you to like go faster after your hold BA into the next hold BA is if you do a dash, she will skip the basic attacks that she uses to go into the spin and would just go directly into the spinning. A demonstration of this is what she would normally do before she starts spinning. But if you do a dash, she basically goes right into the spinning. And in execution, what that looks like is just this. Where you're at the end of a spin after she does the kick, you just dash and do another spin. Very simple. Alright, back to the presentation. When you're playing her as a support, there's two things that you kind of do. One is a fast rotation, where when you don't care about or don't want to do extra neutralization damage, you'll just switch in, press the ult if you have it, then press special skill, and then swap out. Very fast, very simple, gets the job done. You want to go back to your main DPS and use the A2 buff. I get it, simple. But if you want to apply a lot of neutralization damage, you do the above, but stay on Nagi a little bit longer and hold down the basic attack to start spinning. And the second you see Nagi start spinning, you can then switch out. What this does is the spin that you started like manually will let Nagi inflict neutralization damage during that spin. Because basic attacks that are initiated by the game, for some reason, do not inflict neutralization damage. This is true for Ellie as well, where if you let Ellie off-field start a Pillow Pal, she will not inflict neutralization damage with it. We can show that off a little bit later. So, with all of these in mind, should you pull for Nagi? from a meta perspective, this has nothing to do with a Gooner value. Like, I'm not saying you pull her because she's hot or anything. If you have Esther, no, don't pull for her. Esther's the better main DPS. If you have a duped Bonnie and you don't mind playing Bonnie as a main DPS, no, don't pull for her. Bonnie can do Rift 26 with 4-star supports and 4-star SIGs. And if you have Nare, Bonnie legitimately can do Rift 29 as a main DPS. I've done it. If you really want a main DPS and you don't have one, then from a meta perspective, that is the only case where you will want to pull for Nagi. Nagi overall offers only side grade value in wind element only and no real upgrade value. For most players, she is a side grade to Esther as a main DPS and a side grade to Bonnie as a supporter. For Whales, she is a downgrade to Esther as a main DPS and a side grade to Nare as a supporter. So yeah, she overall just does not provide the value that other limited characters do for your account. She's also the most likely member to be replaced in Wind. So if a Wind range special DPS releases, that special DPS would benefit from Nare. So a team of Nare plus G1 holding Melody, or Francis holding Melody, plus the new DPS would probably be the strongest Wind team, which means that Nagi will just get benched. If a Wind supporter releases, now supporters would be on the same power level as Nare. Like, Nare is fucking broken, okay? You're never going to play an Ice team without Nare if you have her. It would likely be the same for Wind when a Wind supporter releases. So then the team would be Wind support holding their new support Sig, G1 holding Melody, and then just hyper buffing the fuck out of Esther. And that means that Nagi would just get benched. If a generic supporter that buffs melee basic attacks, similar to how Nare is a generic supporter that buffs range special attacks, ever releases, then the team would just be the new supporter plus G1 plus Esther, and Nagi gets benched. It's a very similar reasoning to, like, running Nare with Penny, for example. If you don't have Esther and plan to pull Esther during her rerun, then the Nagi you pull now would just get benched by the Esther that you pull during the rerun. So, like, even in the case where an older character comes back and you want to get that older character, Nagi is still getting her ass benched. So, like, she just does not really provide the value, like, long-term value, for free-to-play accounts. For Whales, again, like, if any of these things releases, your A6 Nagi is probably just gonna get benched. And yeah, that is all I have for the slideshow for the Nagi guide. For the rest of this video, I would like to do some sample runs of Reginula to show off her power as a main DPS and as a supporter. So first, we're going to play Nagi as a supporter. Not supporter, as a main DPS to show off what the rotations look like. And this is the team that I wrote on the sheet. Let me check the gears real quick. These are pretty much the same gear as I have on the spreadsheet. If you really want to see the monsterlings, you can refer to the spreadsheet. Here's my monsterlings for Nagi. Now let's go back and review. The main DPS rotation is switch in, press ult, press special, hold BA, and then do as many BAs as you want until you want to switch out. Let's see how that looks in practice. I should probably go consume some food. Whoops. Let's go here, Legendary Conquest, go here. Boom, 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 boom. If you're wondering why we use Francis instead of G1, A0 G1, A1, and even A2 G1, the buffs are atrocious. She applies like a 25% wind damage buff. That is pathetic. G1 only offers value to Esther because it allows her to dash cancel and keep Melody. So yeah. unless you have like A4 G1, just use Francis. Francis is overpowered. Alright, let's get the run going. This is just out of habit. I like having my bubble on at the start. I got staggered once, and I've never gotten over that trauma. Yeah, press E, hold down basic attack, swap out, swap back in, press E, hold basic attack. Very simple. I almost have my ult up, so for my next rotation, I'm just gonna press ult. So I'm gonna finish this spin, swap out. Oh, she broke. I'm gonna go over all our swaps, and then ult, press E, and then hold basic attack. Very simple. You can see I have my ult almost up again, so I'm just gonna swap through, press these ults. Ult, press skill, and then hold basic attack. Riveting gameplay. Truly the most complex character of all time. We're gonna switch through all our characters, activate ults, activate El Dorado and stuff. Press E, hold basic attack. Ult, E, hold basic attack. E, hold basic attack. Now if you are at A0F1, you will not be inflicting this much neutralization damage, so your rotations might look slightly different from what I'm doing, but the idea is still the same. You just press E, hold basic attack. And then you press E, and then you hold basic attack. Here I'm going to press ult, and then I'm going to press E, and then hold basic attack. Here I did a dash, just to get some extra hits off to build my ult gauge. Switch. E, hold basic attack. When Reginula tries to fly away, I'll be able to demonstrate some of the dash canceling techniques that I mentioned earlier, but for now I'm just basically holding down basic attack and winning.
She's about to fly away, so here, I can immediately start spinning. And then she's gonna run over there, I can immediately start spinning again. And then once again, immediately start spinning. You can just use dashes to keep spinning. Oh, I wasn't watching the timer. We're almost done. So yeah, that's main DPS Nagi. You basically just hold down the left click button, and then swap out, swap back in, and then hold down the left click button some more. If you want to spin some more, just do a dash, and then immediately go back into spinning. It's a very simple and brain-dead character to pilot. Next up, let us do some runs with her as a supporter. We're going to be switching the gear around. Go here, and then here, 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 and then assassin. These are my main DPS equipment pieces. We're going to be following what I wrote in the guide, so we do this. We have Ice Fist Dude and Scar. For G1, she's going to be holding Melody. And then we need, let's put El Dorado here, because she's my first slot. We're just going to put Francis's stuff. Where's Custos? So I don't get confused. And then for the last thing, let's put this. Actually, no. Let's put on the funny Hanul. And for Nagi, we go equip some good stuff. I'm just looking for anything that has lines of crit rate. And I'm not really looking for any... Not crit rate and crit damage. I'm not really looking for anything else. That looks good. And then here, let's see, we'll just use this. And that looks good. And then her supporter stuff from the spreadsheet, I put this, this, and this. Perfect. Now let's play some Nagi as a supporter. Quick review. For support, there's two things we do. One is just press special and switch out if we really want to go back to our main DPS fast. The other is start holding down the spin so that she does neutralization damage after I switch out. You get to see both of those in action. Alright, here we go. I will not be doing it here because I don't need to. Reginula's about to break anyways. Like that. And then here I will do a fast switch through everyone. Like this. Which allows me to get back to Esther really fast. And do her burst during the break. Whoops, I meant to press ult. In the interest of not activating Melody, because notice that because of my whaling powers as a massive whale that spent a lot of money and my gigantic damage, Reginula is at level 20 already. So she will immediately go into her third mechanic, so I'm not going to switch to G1 here to preserve my Melody. to get a little bit of extra damage in there. Here I will do the stagger version where I hold it down. You can see that she continued to stagger the boss even though I swapped off of her. I'm gonna do it again here where I start spinning and then swap. Oops, I forgot to switch to Nagi, but it's fine. A little misplay, but we just lose out on a fiend there. And then we're gonna do the same thing where I start holding it down. I should have held it down a little bit more because I saw that the boss was gonna do this attack where she's gonna jump away, so I should have just stayed on Nagi and not had to dash forward with Esther. I know that Richinula might run away now, so I'm gonna stay on Nagi a little bit longer to see if she does run away. She did not run away, so I'm gonna switch to Esther. Same thing. She's running away, so I'm gonna stay on Nagi. So I can do this really fast spin break to stop her from doing this annoying attack. And then we go right back to it. And there we have it. That's the finale. A pretty good score for not using big food, but yeah. And there we have it. The entirety of Nagi. In other words, spin to win. Main DPS, you spin. Support, you spin. Alright, that is the Nagi guide video. If you have any questions, you can DM me. My Discord tag is Uradale. You can find me on the official Discord. I'm quite active there. Let's see. If you want, feel free to support me on the official Netmarble Creator Plus program, whatever that's called. You can search me up there. I should be pretty easy to find. If you do support me, then I can give you some codes that include amazing things like 30 gems, 1 single blue compass, and I don't know what the reward for this quest is, but yeah, you get some cool codes that provide negligible bonuses to your account. Um, is there anything else I wanted to say? I think that'll be all. Hope you enjoyed this video. Hope you learned something about Nagi as a character. And good luck with your polls if you do plan on pulling her. If not, then let us see what the next patch has in store for us. Thank you all for watching.